Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. Ed Barton, the social anxiety coach again here. And today I want to talk about something called MDMA, also known as Mandy, Molly, X, pills. It has many different names, but whatever you call it, I want to discuss how it can be used to treat social anxiety. My experience of MDMA goes right back to 1997 when I was 16 years old, and anybody familiar with the UK rave culture at that time will remember an ecstasy tablet called a Mitsubishi. It was called this because it had the imprint of the Mitsubishi car maker on it, and this was my first experience of MDMA. Now, before I go any further, I want to say that everything that I disclose in this video is only my personal experience. There's lots of specific scientific papers you can look at on the internet that will give you peer-reviewed data on MDMA. What I'm talking about here is my own first-hand experience of it, and I am in no way condoning anybody going out and buying or using MDMA. It is a Class A substance in the UK. It's illegal to buy, sell, or manufacture. So please don't think by making this video I am trying to condone using MDMA. However, what I want to do is just share my experience of it so that it may be of some help to any of you watching this with social anxiety. So as I said, I first tried MDMA when I was 16 years old, and at that time I already had the start of very bad social anxiety. Now, when I took MDMA, it was a kind of a miraculous experience because not only did I have more confidence, but the only way I can describe it is that any obstruction between what I really felt or what I thought and then what I expressed was gone. There was no barrier at all, and everything that I said or felt just came forth very purely, very clearly. I remember walking around a house party and I was able to make eye contact with everybody, and there was no chatter, there was none of that negative talk going on in my head. I realized that my mind felt very calm, very quiet, and very spacious. And what some scientific studies have shown more recently is that this is probably due to the fact that MDMA causes some change in the default mode network. Your default mode network is probably downregulated through the use of MDMA. So basically, I had this very, very nice feeling of internal quiet, internal spaciousness, and a feeling of total unobstruction. Whatever I wanted to do or say, I just did it. It flowed forth very purely. I felt like I could never offend anyone or say the wrong thing. Even if I said something that maybe wasn't the most appropriate thing, because it was so sincere, it always seemed that the other person took it in the right way. I felt like I couldn't put a foot wrong socially, basically. I started taking ecstasy when I was 16, and I loved it. I really, really liked it because of the effect it had on me. As with many things, when you've got social anxiety, such as alcohol, when you take it, my experience was that I didn't feel that it was turning me into something else or something new. What I felt is that it was taking away all the blockages so I could actually be my real self. So when I had social anxiety, that was not the real me. That was like a shackled version of me. That was like me tied up in ropes or in a straitjacket. And then when I took alcohol or I took ecstasy, it basically took off all of those fetters, all of those chains, and I was able to freely express myself and be the true, open, happy spirit that I really was. So this was a really fantastic feeling. By the time I was 17, I graduated quite quickly onto taking 2, 3, 4, 5 of these tablets a night when I was often not going out. The culture amongst me and my friends at that time, around 1998, was when we would go around to a friend's house and we would actually just take ecstasy, listen to music in their house, smoke cannabis, and talk a lot. So it was also a very good bonding experience for me. We had very, very good times together. I'm not going to lie about it. I actually absolutely loved it. And unlike other substances, when you've got social anxiety, for example, if you take LSD or if you take psilocybin, magic mushrooms, ketamine, something like that, there is a good chance that your habitual negative state of mind is then going to be transferred into a bad trip. That's definitely what I found anyway for myself when I was that age and I was experimenting with hallucinogens. My point is that when you take MDMA, what I found, similarly to alcohol in some ways, it doesn't really matter how nervous or paranoid or bad you feel. And again, this is only my experience. Do not think that anything I'm saying here is gospel or in any way giving you a green light to go ahead and do something because I'm condoning it. I'm just saying it didn't matter that I was a nervous, paranoid, neurotic person at 16, 17 years old. When I took an ecstasy tablet, I felt great. I could take it when I was feeling well. I could take it when I had the flu. I could take it when I had a cold or I had a bad back or whatever, and I would feel amazing. That was just the nature of it. And admittedly, those effects might catch up on me the next day or the next week. My flu would come back heavier or my cold would come back more strongly. But during the time that I was on the drug, I felt amazing. Okay, I'm not going to lie about that. You want world peace and you don't understand why we have to have a capitalist society and everyone is so cruel to each other. And, you know, you feel all that very strongly. And then within a few days, it all just seems to have worn off as a bit of a dream in some sense. So how can it be used to help people with social anxiety? There may well be very positive benefits of it if it's used in a therapeutic setting long term. I haven't had first-hand experience of that. I used it recreationally from the age of 16 right up through my 20s, but kind of stopped in my early 20s and then only dabbled with it very occasionally after that. So I don't think any of us are going to see it being used in that way. If you were to feel that you wanted to go out and use some MDMA, I think what you would find is that it would take away your social anxiety for the short term. During the period that you're on that drug, especially at the peak of the experience, you would feel excellent. Your mind would be extremely clear. Your default mode network would be downregulated and more quiet. You would probably have a feeling of spaciousness and expansion and quietness in your mind. You'd be able to express yourself freely and be the person that you really want to be. As we're taking alcohol, the problem is when the drug wears off, you would, in my experience, most likely find that those effects would not continue. So in terms of how does that have any long-term effect on social anxiety, I'm not sure that it does. I can't say that my experience of using ecstasy helped me with my social anxiety at that time. I mean, apart from during the time that I was on it, and also the disruption it causes to your neurotransmitters, to your serotonin uptake, and all of these things leaves you in a very depleted state for up to like a week afterwards. So when you're using it in the way that I was, there would be a cycle of going up, coming down, going up, coming down, going up, coming down, which is not really good for your long-term well-being and not good for your organs or your mind or your mental state, really. So to wrap this video up, what I would say is, yes, it's amazing during the time that you're using it, much like a beta blocker like propranolol or alcohol. While you're on it, you feel like you are the person you always could be, that you wanted to be, and your real self. The problem is it wears off, and then your anxiety and your neurosis then creeps in again once the drug has worn off. So I don't feel, in my experience, that it had long-term lasting benefits for my social anxiety disorder. Whether MDMA therapy done systematically with a therapist over the long term had different effects remains to be seen, because I haven't seen any papers on those kind of trials. But obviously the experiments on veterans and people with PTSD do seem to suggest that it does have positive benefits in that sense. But seeing as none of us are going to be using it in that way anytime soon, I would say if you're using MDMA recreationally, I don't think it will have a consistent long-term benefit on your social anxiety. Again, these are only my views. I'm just trying to share my advice in the hope that it may help you be better informed. As always, please subscribe to the channel, help us help more people, and I'll speak to you all in the next video.